All right, moving on to the next page. Thanks for joining me again on this little adventure down memory lane for me. Here we go. Okay, it looks like this kind of is a continuation of the previous page. I was probably just doing some more like character studies, even though I wouldn't have known to call them character studies back then. Apparently this character's name, who is clearly me, because that looks exactly how I looked back then. Long hair, tie-dye shirts, stupid pants, wireless video game controller. Believe it or not, back then that was not that common. So I ended up buying one of the weird infrared ones, but it sucked because it had like a little bit of a delay. So if you were playing something like Pac-Man, you were screwed. But if you were playing like a JRPG or something, it was fine. What the hell am I doing here? I don't know, dude. I don't know. I'm asking myself the same thing. And then here we go more into like, he's got like a little translator like Star Trek. That's again going back to like Uplift. That series probably is where I kind of drew inspiration for this character from. And his name is Mike. So there you go. He says, "Eek, eek, shut up, you hairless brain bucket." There you go. I mean, Geo St. John. Who did I think I was fooling with that name? My name is Joe, first of all. St. John is, I don't know, a porn star name or something. That's just weird. All right, moving on. And here we have, looks like just a bunch of runes. I was probably looking at Nordic runes or something. Probably something related to D&D. Not sure what all this means. Neo. Oh, you know what? You know what? I bet you this is from Legacy of Kain Blood Omen. I bet you I was playing Blood Omen and I wrote this down off of the screen not knowing it was Norse runes that I could just look up on the internet, even though I didn't really... The internet wasn't as widespread. I mean, I could get on the internet at work, but I didn't really have the internet at home at that time. But yeah, I bet you I wrote this down and I was trying to like translate something that was in the game, but I wasn't doing a very good job. I don't know. Neo... Not? Caught? Interesting. I wonder if I just misunderstood the translation or whatever. But be interesting to go back and try to figure out where in the game that's from or whatever. Because that was a fun game. The Legacy of Kain series is obviously one of my favorite game series, if you couldn't tell by the Raziel drawings in the first episode. But yeah, it's a great game series that just, I don't think it got its due. It kind of fell into a trap of like a Lost sort of thing where they just had too many secrets and too many things, and when they'd answer a question, there'd be 5 more questions after that. And eventually, I think most people just got tired of it. Oh man, speak of the devil. Alright. You know what? I need to... I moved my camera down so that I could get... Because most of these pages are just tiny little drawings. So I'm going to move it back up. Just give me a second here. Yeah, so... That looks really good, even by what I would call good work by my current standards of my own work. Yeah, that looks really good. As you can tell, like I said in the previous page, I probably should have had it on this page while I was explaining my love of Legacy of Kain, because it would have given you something more interesting to look at. But yeah, this is these are characters from Legacy of Kain. The two main dudes from Legacy of Kain, obviously, Kain and Raziel. Kain here looks like he's somewhere in between Blood Omen and Legacy of Kain. But he does have Vorador's Ring. Vorador's Ring actually summons this dude to help him in a fight with Malik, which you'd know if you'd played those games. You can see here's the Soul Reaver in its 2 forms, the corporeal and the ethereal blades meeting together, creating a paradox which history abhors. And of course, here's Raziel, who will soon learn that his soul is actually the soul within the blade. It's also metal and convoluted and crazy. Up here, it looks like a little unfinished drawing of Janos Aldrin, the guy who has the Heart of Darkness inside of him that gets ripped out by the Seraphim Knights and is later put into the chest of Cain so that he can be immortal and unkillable. And, of course, Vorador is one of the oldest. Janos Aldrin was the oldest vampire until he got his heart ripped out, and then the title went to Vorador. And as you can see, as vampires age in the world of Nosgoth, they get less human and more divine, as Raziel says in the first Soul Reaver. And that is a really cool picture of Raziel. I hope it picks up that it's clear that I used like an eraser to try to kind of show a flare on his eyes. It's probably just the page rubbing up against it and the and just probably just the definition on the camera. Yeah, you can see it. That looks really good. I like that. That's a nice little sketch I did there. There's some more furries. Apparently these were called lupins, or lupinine. I don't know. Wolf dudes. Just call them wolf dudes. That'll look good in a D&D, character handbook. Just, you could be a wolf dude! Anyways, so there's a warrior, a monk, and he's got some claws like in a JRPG. Wizard, and a paladin. I really like the look of that paladin. Just the kind of shapes and lines and the posing. Looks really good. Clearly, this was before Dark Souls came out, and everybody learned that shields aren't held like that. But other than that, I don't know. That looks okay. Kind of primitive. Some parts of it unfinished. Here's some more. Looks like more wolf dudes. You got a bard, a barbarian. That barbarian looks like he's wearing some studded armor there. Looking good. Looking like Xylo from Shining Force, of course. And then we've got a ranger who's got a crazy bow with some knives on it. This was around the time when we were all getting real excited about Lord of the Rings, probably. So I was probably way into like Legolas and stuff like that. Oh, also, you notice this bard has bells on his tail. That's an interesting touch. I'm glad that's an interesting idea that I put in there. Huh. Oh, and here's a more detailed version of. Oh yeah. This is that name I've used before. Karan Sul is actually Tolkien Elvish for Red Wind. And she's the Red Ranger, but not like Power Rangers. More like furries. You know, I bet it was like a play on Little Red Riding Hood. Definitely. That's kind of a funny little gag. Camera's rocking. When this camera's rocking, don't come a knocking. Actually, come a knocking. Come on in. Put your keys in the fishbowl. Let's go. No, I'm kidding. And here's some, looks like some Nagas. Of course, my idea of Naga comes from the SNES role-playing game called, what was it, Breath of Fire? There was a Naga in that who was literally just a chick with a snakes for a lower half. Looks like we got a wizard up there that's just posed so ridiculously. That looks real bad. Some of the other ones look good, though. I like this guy with the sword up here. Some great lines going on there. The sword kind of following the curve of his body. That's cool. Then we got this guy with the axe. We got this guy with the curved swords, and this girl down here with the... it's trying to be a wizard, but clearly it's unfinished. But yeah, that's another... probably another thing I wanted to stick into D&D. I'm sure in one of these books there's probably rules for playing as a Naga with all the stats and all the abilities and all that. written down. But yeah, I don't know. That's kind of neat, I guess. Clearly, I had a thing for dudes with long hair because I had long hair at the time. Over on this side, sometimes me writing stuff down is funny, so we'll look at this. Oh, look, I was coming up with different names for orcs, and everything was a type of orc. Looks like I was trying to just kind of consolidate all the different goblinoid races into one, similar to what happened to Lord of the Rings, where everything was pretty much an orc. It was just what you called it. Whether you called it a goblin, whether you called it an orc, they were the same kind of creature. It's just some tribes were more powerful, some of them were more rat-like, I guess. It's kind of I thought that was kind of cool that they did that in Lord of the Rings. It consolidated things in a way that makes it a little bit less confusing to an audience, I think. But there's the boggies and bogarts and goblins. These are things, I probably read them in a book about fairies and stuff and just kind of stole them and took them in here. A Gnome is an attack/guard dog. A Bucky. You mean like Captain America's sidekick there? Alright, moving on. Looks like we got a Bogey. Looks like he's got a shovel and a pickaxe because he's a working class dude. Then we got a Bogart, which is more like a spy looking dude. He's got the ghillie suit on, or the goblin equivalent of a ghillie suit. Then there's straight up goblin, a hobgoblin who looks more like an orc. A Babel, I'm guessing they're the wizard class, but they've got big old mouths and big old tongues. And a Knack, who kind of looks like those War of the Gargantuan guys who were related to Frankenstein. If you've ever seen War of the Gargantuas, it's a really good Toho kaiju movie. And I'm sure I stole that design from that movie. Then we got a these are bad. Wow, these are real bad. Then we got a Kelpie. Kelpies were, if you know the story of Kelpies, they either appeared as women or horses to travelers who needed those things, who would be drawn to those things, and it would turn out that they would just be crazy water spirits that drug them underwater and drowned them. But obviously I wanted them to be more of a race of aquatic orcs or something. It's interesting how in mythology horses are so tied to water, especially in like Western mythology, because I believe Kelpies are an Irish myth, and then you have the Greek myths about horses, which are like, you know, they're just like Poseidon created the horses. The god of the sea created the horses. They came out of sea foam. So that's an interesting thing. I wonder where that comes from, where the attitude about horses and water. And then, of course, in Lord of the Rings, there were horses in the water. So I want to know where that comes from. That's kind of an interesting... I need to look that up, because it's an interesting parallel. Then we have this guy over here is an ogre. Looks like he's just a big dude. You know, it's probably some Ray Harryhausen influence there with the hooves. Definitely. And then giving him horns. Ray Harryhausen was one of my favorite filmmakers. Still is. He always put in a lot of weird claymation monsters in his movies, and they're always awesome. There's an Etten, which is obviously a two-headed giant, but since it's not really a finished drawing, it looks goofy. And then an Erd, which looks more like a kobold with wings, really, or maybe like the Jersey Devil. These look like Japanese Oni, but they're not finished. This guy right here is just looking like, why didn't you finish this drawing, Joe? Why didn't you finish me? And this guy's like, yeah, why didn't you finish me? This guy's just like, shut up. Oh, I bet you this is supposed to be the Jersey Devil. Another one of my obsessions is cryptids, cryptozoology. I am very interested in Just, the idea that there could be species out there that we haven't found yet. Given the fact that cell phone cameras are everywhere now, I think we would have found the Jersey Devil and Sasquatch and all these other creatures by now. But still an interesting idea. This obviously plays on the image of the Jersey Devil looking something like a horse. Obviously, I think he's more like a bat, so I kind of combine the two together to make a kind of biology that might actually make sense in the world. It's a neat idea, but yeah, Jersey Devil's probably not real. And then here we have El Chupacabra, two different versions of it. This is the more alien-like version that I always liked. Growing up in Yakima, having lots of friends who were Hispanic, I don't know, I feel like I kind of adopted some of Hispanic culture a little bit. Absorbed it through osmosis. I know a lot of white people around here don't, but I did. I always thought some of that stuff was neat. I learned a lot about Santeria and El Chupacabra and Lucha Libre and all sorts of fun stuff. And even some of the music. To this day, I don't think Gypsy Kings is Hispanic, but they speak Spanish, and I definitely love their music. So there's that. But I always liked the alien-looking El Chupacabra. I never really liked the kangaroo, or like they show him now, where he's just a dog with mange. That's the current running theory for what exactly an El Chupacabra is. Or it also could possibly be vultures that fly down and just kind of peck out the eyes of cattle or whatever that have died in the cold or whatever, or at night. But yeah, it's El Chupacabra is a neat folkloric creature, and I hope he's out there somewhere. Maybe he's watching this video right now. Maybe he's behind me. Oh no! No, he's not. This is a blank page. Oh, you know what? I already kind of caught a glimpse of what this last page was, so I need to cover something up before I show it. I think this is kind of funny. Hey, so yeah, I'm back after covering up that phone number, because I don't want whoever's phone number that is now to get bugged by whatever weirdos are watching this. So yeah, that's I'm telling you, drawing's a great way to pick up chicks. They love the artsy types. Anyways, so this is the last page, and I thought this was hilarious because I'm probably like 19, 20 at this point, and I'm writing a video game wish list like a child writing a list to Santa Claus or something. So there's a Shadow Man Second Coming. There's a sequel to Shadow Man that nobody bought but me. And you see there's an asterisk next to it because it's a must-have. God. We got Blood Omen 2, which, a Legacy of Kain fan, me. We got State of Emergency, which I never ended up getting. I heard it wasn't really that good anyway, so I heard it was fun, but just not as fun. Then we got the Jak and Daxter games. I played the first one a little bit. I tried to pick it up recently, and you can't change the controls. And it was before they kind of standardized how cameras are controlled and stuff in games. And now when you try to play it, you got to get used to a whole new scheme, and it's really annoying. We got Mega Man with a triple M there because I really like Mega Man. Mega Man X6, rather. Star Wars Jedi Starfighter, which I never ended up playing. Star Wars Racer Revenge. I'm actually a advocate of the Star Wars Pod Racer games because I think they're really fun. And Racer Revenge was pretty good, too. It followed the adventures of, grown-up Anakin. Padawan Anakin goes back to pod racing at some point in the expanded fiction of Star Wars, and Sebulba's still there, and he's got a extra beefy extra beefy pod racer. And then we got Max Payne, which I think had just come out on consoles then. Wizardry. Wizardry on PS2, man, that was a good game. Unfortunately, it was a blue disc game, so a lot of people who bought it, their PlayStation just stopped playing it after a while. So I think I probably traded it in. But man, that Wizardry, I think it was Wizardry 8 on PS2. So good. There's Baldur's Gate, which the Baldur's Gate series on PS2, awesome. Gunslinger, I'm not sure about. I wonder if it was like, because I was kind of into light gun games a little bit. I want to say I got like Vampire Knight or something on PlayStation 2 with the GunCon, and I really liked it. I also really liked a game called, it wasn't Dino Crisis, but it was kind of based on Dino Crisis. It's like Dino Hunter or something. That was a light gun game that required you to kind of move around, and I always wanted it on Wii because the controls would be better because you weren't using the buttons. I don't know if you know what a GunCon looks like, but it's got like a little D-pad right there, and it's got buttons on the side, and then it's got a button underneath so you can reload. But basically, you were like moving around with this little D-pad, and then you could like strafe left and right with the two buttons right here, which you could do for about 5 or 6 minutes before your hand just started cramping up because you're not supposed to put your hand like that on a gun. But you know, whatever. Time Crisis, obviously. Time Crisis. Or Time Crisis. Or Time Clissis. Yeah, my handwriting's terrible. It still is. It's just, see, when I draw, I just draw like 17 different lines, and I just erase the ones I don't like. So that's the secret to drawing. But anyways, that's the end of this book, with the exception of the back page, the back cover, which has a bunch of just rough stuff. Apparently I was trying to do some math there. I don't know what that's about. More Gelflings, more crappy anime. But anyways, thanks for coming with me on this journey into the past, and boy howdy, there are more of these where this came from. So if you want to see more of them, let me know. I may just show them no matter what. We'll see. See ya.